Yo, what's up? This is Coach Q,
This is Sabrina Vaz-Holder.
and welcome to the Meet the Holders podcast. First and foremost, I want to thank everybody for checking out episode 2, Jungle Fever. Just because of the political climate and everything that's going on, we wanted to make sure that we touched on prejudice and racism, not only how it affects us and what we had to go through as far as our relationship, but just how the world looks at things. So we really wanted to make sure we kind of just honed in on that. Please, if you haven't taken a chance to listen to it, go back, listen to it, let us know your thoughts, questions, concerns, opinions. Just let us know how you felt about it. But I felt super good about that one. So today, episode 3, we are going to talk about mixing business with pleasure, which is taboo in the industry.
Yep.
I was going to name a handful of couples that do it well, but in 2022, that does not seem to be, the list is very short.
It doesn't exist, actually.
And I don't even want to name somebody because now I feel like I'm going to jinx their relationship. Because every time we talk about somebody, we're like, oh yeah, we like how they're doing that. Power couple this, they're doing this and that. And then it's like some scandal pops up.
Pretty much.
So yeah, I'm cool on that. There is a list of people that do it. It's small, but I'd rather not focus on that. I think we should just kind of focus on what does that statement or that phrase mean to us and how it relates to the way that we kind of built out our dynamic.
And one of the reasons why we made this our third episode is because one of the main questions that people have been asking us is, how do you work with your spouse? Because I guess they've tried working with their spouse or partners and it just never worked out. I mean, Q just told you he can't think of a list of anybody that we can shout out that do it well right now, right?
Yeah, I had a list, but every few months, every year, whatever, some scandal or they break up or they get divorced or whatever. So I'm not even about to name it. It doesn't even matter.
So like Q talked about on the first episode, How I Met Your Mother, he talked about how we first started out working together, even as friends, before we got into the romantic level.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of just the key. Mm-hmm. So the key point of this, and we're trying to, if you see a central theme, is be friends first. It doesn't always happen like that. A lot of people are there's a romance, there's a puppy love, there's something that causes that. But if you're friends first, I feel like that's where this starts to become not so taboo because we were already in a working capacity.
Yeah.
So we added the romance piece later, but we had an understanding that we worked very well together in a business capacity.
I think too the key thing when he said we didn't get romantic until later, we had built a strong foundation through our friendship working together.
Yes, so our friendship was actually built through working together in business.
Yes.
So I will explain how that worked. So like I was talking about, the initial meeting, Sabrina had a website, I had a clothing line, we did the interview, and then from there on, I was helping her out with Forever Young Project, which is a project where she basically had a lot of artists that were in the area, even some people that were outside of the area that were buzzing, up and coming. Some of them were established, well established, had record deals, different things like that. But the point of the project was to put a compilation out and sell it so we could raise money.
Yep.
What was the specific organization that you wanted to give the money to? What? It escapes me right now. Was it a back to school effort? I
believe it was a back to school effort, and Nightmare Inc. was helping me with that. I think the owner of Nightmare Inc., his mom was is one of the board members for the nonprofit organization that I was donating to. But the whole purpose was to help with entrepreneurship and students who were into the arts.
And just for clarity, Nightmare Inc. wasn't like some crazy brand or something like that. It was actually a very cool, calm brand. Ryan
Yeah.
himself was, he's a believer. You know, he's a good guy. That's just the name of his clothing line. I don't want to throw anybody off. But yeah, so that was for for nonprofit and then back to school efforts. So we would constantly have meetings. So I began to learn Sabrina's style of organization, and of course, like I said, when I met her, she was doing a website. But what I really didn't know until we started having more meetings was the fact that she was very passionate about photography, media really, but photography. I don't know if she was passionate about videography,
No, I
but
wasn't.
she just did it. Because if you have a camera and you take photos, people are gonna be like, "You shoot video too?" And I guess she just adapted. I don't
I
know.
like editing. That's my
Okay,
favorite
cool.
thing. Yeah.
You like editing.
I
Yeah,
hate
I didn't
shooting.
want to say
Yeah.
you got a passion for video because I don't know. But you still did a very great job. So what happened was, like I said, fast forward, we're meeting, we're hanging out, we're doing more business. This is where our business dynamic came together. This is where I started to transition because while I was working that clothing line, one of my biggest things was getting exposure for the brand. So I decided to kind of, for lack of better words, do what I'm doing now, what I do now with any company that I work with or anything that I'm doing. I made my own platform. So I said, this is the blog era. So I'm going on, the Hype Beast and the Two Dope Boys and the Misinfos and all of those different websites. And I'm thinking, this is where people go to get content. This is where people go to find out what's going on in the culture. I need a platform like that so I can compete properly. So I kind of devised this plan, which is, like I said, this is very on brand for me, to have a platform where I could sprinkle in the clothing line that I was working with while still making it something that even if they weren't into that, it would be something that people would enjoy looking at. So I created a blog. It was called the Red Tag Society. And along with the Red Tag Society, I also created my own personal website, which was called QuinnellHolder.com. So I kind of went back and forth between these brands, the Red Tag Society, QuinnellHolder.com. And I just started to do interviews. And the way that I would kind of throw the clothing line in there was I would say this interview is sponsored by the clothing line. And that was the beginning of our real back and forth dynamic of you seeing Quinnell and Sabrina working side by side because she would record the interviews. I would either conduct the interviews, transcribe them, and post them on whatever outlets I was working at the time, or and this is where Sabrina gets a lot of points because honestly it was like the beginning of like building a career out. I didn't have a car at the time. Sabrina would actually drive to Richmond, drive to DC, drive wherever we had to go. And I want to take time to shout out Candace Nicole. She is one of the top publicists in the game right now. But at the time, she was just one of the top publicists in the area. And she had a lot of influence. And she was working closely with DTLR. And she would have these celebrities, when they would come in town, she would set up media mixers for them. And she would give me invites. And to this day, I actually still don't know why. But I'm super thankful of her doing that. But Sabrina would travel to these places and film these interviews.
In my Kendrick Lamar minivan.
In her Kendrick Lamar minivan, which is hilarious.
Shout out to my dad for that car.
Which is hilarious because I also had it. My dad also had a minivan as well. So we could relate a lot to the Good Kid, Mad City album. But yeah, she would record these interviews and go up and get them, and they would say, who's this for? She was like, it's for it's for my boyfriend's website, and clearly, and I'm kind of rushing it, so there was months and months and months in between as we continued to kind of just build and do what we were doing. Mm-hmm. So at that time, I had transitioned into being her boyfriend. So she would say, yes, for my boyfriend's website and the Red Tag Society, and people were like, cool. And she would get drops and do the whole interview. And now in hindsight, when I think about it, like, that was like super, it was dope, but like, Now I feel like it was probably like a little bit unsafe. I mean, I think maybe like once or twice you might have had somebody with you, but for the most part, you would go by yourself. It's kind of unsafe, and it was kind of wild when I really think about it. But
No, I never went by myself.
oh, you always had somebody with you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right, cool.
The with the Lupe Fiasco one, I had Mikkel, ASAP Rocky, I had Bree, and the other ones I did with you.
Okay, cool. Well, there you
Yeah.
go. Yeah, definitely refresh my memory. I was about to say, I don't know. That was like a blurry time. I was just focused on kind of shooting the content, putting it up. But yeah, Sabrina was going and getting this content, and that was our dynamic. And we would constantly put things out, and it was amazing. I mean, imagine every time you were trying to do something, you have somebody there that can film it, and then Sabrina could also edit it. But then she has me to be able to actually push it out, and get it where it needs to go, so she doesn't feel like her energy is being wasted. It's not like she's going to do this and no one's going to see it.
And then besides Red Tag Society, you helped me develop Sabrina Vaz Films, so you would have me get booked to do music videos, and
Oh
you would
yeah,
do
this is true.
websites, and
This is true.
yeah,
Yeah, we would
yeah.
do a lot of different things: photo shoots, trailers, promos, all type of things.
Yeah, oh my gosh. Remember when you used to do flyers for $50?
Man, we used to do. I saw something pop up on the website talking about my rates, and it was like again, like you said, 150.
Duh.
For I don't know, for a logo,
No
300
way.
for West. It was
No
listen,
way.
whatever we had to do to get it, we were getting it. But again, just to stay on course with everything that we're talking about, the whole point is that it was a natural flowing working
Yeah.
relationship, and that was even prior to us being in a romantic situation. And I just want to say that y'all probably wouldn't be hearing this podcast if it wasn't for that.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be hearing the podcast. We wouldn't have any of the great things that God has blessed us with if it wasn't for that working relationship. We might have actually broken up, not been together. I think that purpose and alignment is what allowed us to stay together, because there were multiple times. I can't speak for Sabrina, but there were multiple times where I was interested in walking away from a relationship, not because of anything that Sabrina had did, but simply because I just felt like I wasn't inadequate. I just felt like things weren't happening fast enough, and I was just down on myself. I was feeling super insecure. I was feeling like, this is a waste of time, and more importantly, this is a waste of her time. So yeah, I just wanted to say that, like, sometimes having that goal and that vision, that's why it's important to have shared faith and shared ideologies, because you're able to stay on track. Because Sabrina's whole thing was like, I'm not going anywhere. Even if we got to live in a cardboard box, this and that. And she was saying stuff, and like I said, when I say it, I know people say those things, but like, she showed me on multiple occasions that she was very serious about it. So I was in a place where I was very vulnerable, and had she not been there for me and was there to encourage me, because full transparency, I was kind of like in a spiral. Like, I was feeling like there really wasn't anybody who truly believed in what I had going on.